And after just a week's glorious flirtation with the idea of real television, where you were in a room with another real human being, so once again, we have been cast asunder to our respective parts of the world. Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Cocktails and Conversation. For our sins, and really for our sins, I mean this most sincerely, this is season 2, episode 19. We are still here with you, and we're very grateful that you're still here with us. Nick Black from Teddington, Southwest London, looking scruffy as I've ever looked on this show. Brittany Earton looking trendy, on point, ready to head to a Dodgers game.
Ready.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. All is good. The question is, why do we have Mark's background and no Mark? Where our mixologist?
Oh.
What's up, guys?
No.
So ready. So ready for our Vesper Martini tonight.
I knew you were going to do it, but it was even better the second time.
I genuinely had no idea.
I know, that was the plan.
I'm happy now that I've dressed as just roughly as I have this evening, because it only serves to highlight what a vision I have before me. What a sartorial master in the top right-hand corner. He's in my top right-hand corner anyway. And that's where he'll stay.
Thank you. I'm just happy I fit into this suit. I wasn't sure. So it's a good test run for...
How long have you had that? I mean, is that from your wedding? I mean, what is this from?
I'll be honest with you. It's good that I'm a few feet back from the camera because it's kind of piecemeal. Like, this is just a random blazer and this is a random shirt that I got. So I tried to pull it off so it looked like a tux, but it's really just a hodgepodge. But for Breeders' Cup weekend, maybe I'll pull out the tux. But so good to see you guys.
Dapper. Very dapper tonight.
Thank you. So excited for our Vesper Martini. I had to get into character because this is all about James Bond. This is all about class and espionage, and we'll get into that in a second. But very, very excited for tonight's cocktail.
Any truth in the rumor that you're shortlisted to play the next Bond after Daniel Craig stands down?
Well, I signed a non-disclosure agreement, so I really shouldn't say much, Nick. But I hear that you're the runner-up, though. So between the two of us, someone's going to get it.
If that's true, then I'm the next Bond girl. We all know that.
That I would believe. I don't know about us as Bond, but I would believe you in there.
Hey, Britt, since I left you, you've been on James Corden on CBS cross networks.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was cool. No, jokes aside, Nick Bernstein, who is the senior VP of programming or late night programming, I should say, for CBS on the West Coast. And they like to joke that there's no junior VP. Guess it's an internal joke. He came out to the racetrack the other day. He's a huge fan of racing. His family's from Saratoga Springs. And apparently on the Late Late Show with James Corden, they have brought him into the opening monologue and they made him dress up as a jockey. And so they've talked a lot about horse racing on the Late Late Show. And so when he came out to the track, I did an interview with him. They used some of the interview actually in the show. It was a really cool bit. Santa Anita obviously showed him and his entire team a wonderful time. So yeah, that was a moment for me. I mean, now how do we get James Corden out of the track? That's the next question.
Wow. The other thing is, did you butter him up sufficiently that we're likely to see you on the Corden show anytime soon?
No, I don't think so. I'm slightly disappointed about that because I do not envision me on the Late Late Show anytime soon. That was my opportunity. I must have blown it.
I know what you're saying first, and then hopefully he'll return the favor, right?
Exactly.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
If you're watching James Corden.
Yeah. Yes. And you were at Royal Ascot. How was that? Not royal. Sorry, just ask it.
I was at the Royal Racecourse with the Monarch, yes, for British Champions Day, which was fantastic day. It's a day that's developed a really good fan vibe, I think. You probably don't find as many people who are real die-hard enthusiasts of the sport at another flat race meeting this side of the pond as you do it at Champions Day. It's very much about the racing, rather like Breeders' Cup is, I suppose, relative to the Derby. And the two feature races, well, Seelyway, I think he might be bound for the Breeders' Cup Turf now after he won the Kipco British Champion Stakes. He ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last year. He'd be
Mark's already drinking.
I kind of wish I wish I was too. But
I texted you, Nick, and I asked you if you wanted to wear a suit with me, and you breezed right by it. So.
He doesn't read half of his text messages, or he chooses to ignore. This is coming from personal experience.
That was said with feeling.
I wanted to
real feeling.
I wanted to match, but we'll, maybe Breeders' Cup.
Ooh,
I'll pull it out for you, Mark.
I like this idea. All right, you already teased what we're drinking tonight. We will have Jamie Roth of LNJ Foxwoods on our show. Really looking forward to talking with her about kind of getting into racing and kind of taking it by storm. But before that, we got to make a cocktail. So
yes.
Mark, it's all you.
I'm so excited. So often when I talk about these classic cocktails, it's difficult when you're trying to discover the real root of them, right? The real history, because you almost have to act like you're a secret agent or a detective. You have to figure out the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why. And oftentimes, just when you think you've cracked the case, you discover that not everything is as it seems. But that is not the case for the Vesper Martini. We know exactly how it was created because the creator put it all in print for us. That's right. Ian Fleming himself, the author of the James Bond novels, created this drink and had James Bond order it in the very first novel, Casino Royale, which was published in 1953. Now, the way we discover this recipe is that James Bond actually orders it from the bartender and describes at great length what it entails. So I want to try to even spice this episode up a little bit more, do something a little different. I was hoping that maybe we could act out this scene. Now, I know you're running from, another thing, Nick, and you're still getting situated, but I'm actually going to put a good deal of pressure on you because your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to play the role of James Bond.
That was very Mission Impossible of you.
Yeah.
I'll do my very best.
He's going to do his best. I'm going to play the bartender. Brittany, you're going to help out with one of the side characters. The one thing I'll ask from our producers, if you don't mind making me the full screen so that Nick can actually read this when we pull it up here. All right. So, Nick, you are going to be James Bond here. Go ahead and start us off.
I'm going to try and be Roger Moore here rather than any of the newer Bonds. A dry martini. 1 in a deep champagne goblet.
Oui, monsieur.
Just a moment. 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of Kina Lillet. How do I pronounce that?
Kina Lillet, sure.
What the hell is Kina Lillet? Never heard
We'll
of
get
it.
to that later. Stay in character.
Shake it very well until it's ice cold. Then I'll do a large thin slice of lemon peel. Got it?
Certainly, monsieur.
This is just ridiculous.
Gosh, that's certainly a drink.
When I'm concentrating, I never have more than 1 drink before dinner. But I do like that one to be large and very strong and very cold and very well made. I hate small portions of anything, particularly when they taste bad. This drink's my own invention. I'm going to patent it when I think of a good name. I'm warming to this now.
Excellent. Well, you warmed to it just in time because that's the end. But I think you did a fantastic job.
I think you've got a future, Nick.
This is the campest show that I've ever been part of, but I'm loving it.
Well, maybe we'll get to improv at one point, but I think that was a beautiful way of bringing to life that very first order of the Vesper Martini in Casino Royale, 1953. By the way, the name itself, Vesper, would come, or it is named after one of the other characters in that book, which is Vesper Lynd. She's a double agent. So at that moment, Nick, when you were reading that, James Bond had not yet decided on a name, as he says in that last little paragraph. And then later on, he dubs it the Vesper. So let's take a look at how to make this really, really I don't want to say infamous, it's just famous. It's a famous variation on the martini. It's pretty simple, but let's take a look at it step by step. And you just heard the recipe, so we already know. 3 measures of Gordon's gin. So we're going to do 3 ounces of gin here, but I don't have Gordon's. I've got a really nice London dry gin, Ford's. And we're going to go all the way here. James Bond says he likes his drinks large and strong and very, very cold. So I'm going to go with a full 3 ounces of gin. And I'm going to be working on this for quite some time tonight. So 2 ounces right there. And 1 more ounce. I would love to know if anyone else is making these at home. I'm not sure if the Dickinsons were able to gather the ingredients for this. I know they're so great about making the cocktails each week, but so many of our viewers are too. So let us know if you are actually making this behemoth kind of drink here. 1 ounce of vodka.
We have some people creating their own martinis. A peach martini is a fan favorite tonight. Maybe mango martini if you're Chad Brown.
Nice. I think any type of martini goes tonight. That's the theme of the night. You know, we're just going to make it classy. Whatever it is, if we drink it from a martini glass, I think we're in good shape. Quina Lillet. So this is Lillet Blanc. Now, one thing that's important to note here is that originally this particular French aperitif, which is made from a blend of Bordeaux wines and orange liqueurs, it originally contains quinine, which classifies it as a quinquina. So that's an aperitif that contains that quinine. Something very important to note is that I believe beginning in 1985, the owners removed the quinine, or the new owners removed the quinine from the recipe. So if you really want to sort of replicate what would have been the original Vesper Martini, a better approximation is actually Cocchi Americano, which is an aperitif that has that quinine in there. So I don't have that available today, but if you want to be a true sort of enthusiast here, search that aperitif out and give it a try. You're going to get that bitterness that you're looking for.
Mark, quinine or quinine, as we call it, it's what they have in tonic water, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And
so it used to be. It was used to treat malaria, wasn't it?
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And that was actually one of the things that kind of led to the creation of Lillet. Is it was sort of the French's answer to gin and tonics that naval officers in England were having basically on board ships, mixing their daily rations of gin with the tonic waters and even the preserved lime juice that they had on the ships to form gimlets. So this was kind of the French answer to that. They created Lillet, and it was great for treating malaria, but also it was delicious, and people enjoyed having it as a before dinner drink. But you're absolutely right. Now, very big question here. We all know James Bond says shaken, not stirred. But I will tell you, unfortunately, from a bartender perspective, that's not the best way to chill a martini. The rule of thumb, stirred, yes. And I know you just had an experience with this, right, Brittany?
Yeah, because my martini was shaken and it had ice chips in it, and I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah, and some people do love those ice chips, but the fact of the matter is that when you shake a cocktail, you're introducing air into it, right? So you're also adding some body to it. But in the case of a martini, you actually want it to be silky smooth and transparent. The moment you start shaking it, that's when you get those small bubbles. It makes it cloudy. And just as you said, Brittany, you're going to have those ice chips on top. The thing about the ice chips is that is just basically water that is not melted yet, right? So as soon as it does melt, it's going to further dilute your drink. So real fast, the theories as to why Ian Fleming writes this into James Bond's character they're very numerous. One, it could be just to show that he was particular. He's a man that knew exactly what he wanted. So that in and of itself was kind of part of the character. Another theory says that he actually wanted his martinis to be a little bit more diluted so that he would have the water mixed with the alcohol, keeping him a little bit sharper than everyone else around him. Because you never know when someone's going to pull out a gun, right, in those novels. So all sorts of theories. Today, I am going to be stirring this cocktail. But for anyone at home that really wants to go all in on the James Bond experience, feel free to shake this as well.
I must say, Mark, I certainly wasn't expecting to see your weapon at this early hour of the evening.
I'm just going to pour all this ice in here. Yeah, you know.
James Bond. Has anyone seen the new movie?
No, is it any good?
I haven't seen it yet, but I want to. It's the final one with Daniel Craig.
That's right. What's the name of this one? I don't even know. I was re-listening to the theme
Live,
song
let
from.
die. Never something would die in it.
Oh, okay, because I was listening to the theme song from Tomorrow Never Dies, which I remember listening to as a kid. Sheryl Crow sang
No
that one.
time to die.
No time to die. They always make sure that they have die in there. But so the one thing, and people ask me this a lot, can you get a martini just as cold stirring as shaking? The answer is absolutely, but it's going to take a little bit longer. You'll notice here that I have a lot of smaller cubes, which are going to do the job relatively fast. It's already looking very frosty here. Tip here, make sure that you're pre-chilling your martini glass. That way, once you actually strain your cocktail into it, the cool temperature of the glass is going to continue to keep that cocktail cold for you. Now, this is going to be quite a large Vesper martini. Don't ask me any questions towards the end of this program. We are going to go ahead and garnish this with a lemon peel. This is one of the things that sort of distinguishes this from, some of the other martinis that James Bond would order, where he typically liked an olive. So peel side down, let's express those oils on top, rub this around the rim, and that is, you'll see here, quite a large martini, ready for battling the world and, tackling all those spies out there, as the rival spies. But cheers, guys. A lot of fun making a classic Vesper.
Cheers. I wish I had one.
Yes, agreed. Well done. That was, honestly, you outdo yourself each and every week, but this set a new bar.
Awesome. Thank you. That's what I was going for.
I just worry that you're not going to be able to top this at the Breeders' Cup itself.
That's
we'll be making cocktails with people, so maybe, and we'll all be together. So maybe that in and of itself will take it to another level.
Yeah, I'll bring like a stunt double with me or something. I don't know.
Mark, have we ever actually met in person?
No, we haven't. No, I met Brittany once at
we made a cocktail on air. Yeah, 2019.
Santa Anita. Yep. But no, I'm looking forward to it, Nick. It's going to be great. Just a couple weeks away. It's amazing.
So we didn't make a cocktail at Keeneland together, no?
He wasn't at Keeneland.
Yeah, no. You guys were together, right?
Yeah.
No, I think so. Last year you guys were together, and I was still in front of the brick wall here. but this year we're going to be 3 amigos in person. So.
Well, I love it. We're about to be 4 amigos, because without further ado, I'm so excited to welcome in our special guest tonight. That is the J in LNJ Foxwoods, Jamie Roth, who started it back in 2013. Breeders' Cup winners, Kentucky Derby winner. So involved with aftercare as well, all around the world. Jamie, thanks for joining us.
Of course, I'm excited to join this crew.
What's the cocktail of choice for you?
I've been drinking Negronis a lot lately.
Nice.
Was it just recently, the last couple of years, it's been my go-to drink.
Yeah, you know what's amazing is that, I've been bartending for 12 years, Jamie, and I did not like Negronis until about 3 or 4 years ago. It's one of those things that you have to try a few times, and then something just clicks, and now it's one of my favorite cocktails.
Completely agree with you. That's what happened to me. Now goes down good. And
awesome.
I feel good.
So Jamie, I was telling Mark earlier that there are, at the Adelphi Hotel in Saratoga, there are cocktails named after your horses. There's a United. Is there a Covfefe? Like, how involved were you in creating those cocktails?
No, it's cool to have the cocktails named after your horses. And, obviously that comes from the association with my father, but I think he has a lot more to do with it than me, because all of a sudden I'll get text messages from people who work at the hotel, and they're like, "Oh, there's a country house, there's a United," and I have nothing to do with it. So I think it's his thing, but he says it's mine.
Yeah, you can take ownership of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, her parents, Larry and Nancy, the LNJ in LNJ Foxwoods. Jamie, for you didn't grow up in horse racing. So for you to, have created LNJ Foxwoods in 2013 to where you are today, does it just boggle your mind, having not really grown up in it and not really knowing how to get involved?
Completely, because so many people I've met have been in this sport since they were babies, like you. Their father's been a trainer, their grandfather's been a trainer, their father's been a jockey, etc. So it definitely feels different when a lot of people ask me if I ride, and I'm like slightly embarrassed to say I don't, because it's kind of like, how do you not ride? But I got into the sport late, and making my own path different than I think a lot of people in the industry, but different's good. So
I find it fascinating, Jamie, because most people say you can't really be bitten by the bug unless you've been bitten early. So what was it about the sport relative to the life that you were leading outside it that made you think, yeah, this is somewhere where I want to spend more time?
I mean, I think from being on broadcasts like this and in articles, people know that I got into the sport through loving Rachel Alexandra, which she meant a lot to me because she was a female and running against the males, beating the males, which was a lot of what I was doing when I was younger, playing sports and against the guys. The guys didn't like it, but I was a little lost in my life at that time, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And there was just this connection. I couldn't explain it at the time, but now it makes so much sense because I love sports and animals. And, Brittany, you know this, there's no better athlete in this world, right, than a horse. So I think, Rachel just came into my life and I didn't know why, but now I do. So I'm thankful for her.
I think part of it, getting new people into the sport is either getting to the track or, like you said, falling in love with a horse. But how did that connection happen? Did somebody show you Rachel, or were you just in Kentucky? How did that happen?
I think I was just one of those people who watched racing on the big days, the Derby, the Preakness, Belmont, maybe some racing in Saratoga. No one told me per se, but just general being a sports fan, I love all sports. ESPN's my main channel on all the time. So it must have been something I just saw in all the channels related to sports, because no one really pointed her out to me. I guess, I don't know, just kind of found her, I think.
How easy was it for you to then be the evangelist for horse racing to the rest of your family, and to get them sort of so tightly woven into this project?
I don't think they knew how woven they were going to be, but
yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
I have amazing parents who have always provided, myself and my brothers with just a lot of amazing things that I don't take for granted. And one of them is supporting us in an endeavor that we brought to them. And for me, there's a lot of background to it. Meeting Alex Solis at the track, talking to him, coming up with a quick game plan. Him being such a go-getter, just kind of flew out to Vegas because my parents had been there for an eyewear convention because my dad was in the eyewear business. And his game plan that we talked about was solid. And my parents said, this is something Jamie seems to be very interested about. I had never seen her so passionate about something. So they went all in. But it was supposed to be a breeding operation. My dad got hit by the racing bug. It was my dad who got hit by the racing bug.
Perfect.
So the reason that you're racing is because of your father, and you breed because of you?
I mean, that might be a little far-fetched. I like the racing too a lot, but he really got hit by the racing bug and the action. I mean, we were so small. At one point, it could have been one race a month, one race every 6 weeks. And then I think my father wanted a little bit more action. And then 2 times a month wasn't enough. And you see where I'm going with that. But we still have a very small stable, relatively speaking. So we'll keep it at this size.
Jamie, every time I see you pictured with a horse, around a horse, for someone who didn't grow up with horses, you have an incredible affinity with them. You seem to just want to be around them. You love the animal for the animal's sake. Would that preclude you getting too big as an operation? Do you need to feel something for all these horses?
That is such a good question. Absolutely. I I have to feel something for them. To be honest with you, this is so terrible to say. We had a horse running the other day, and I didn't have that affiliation with her. I mean, I love her. She'll always have a good home. She's actually a homebred, but it kind of made me sick a little bit that I didn't have sort of that deep love that I have for so many of my horses. But to answer your question, I have an album. Actually, it's funny. We had a horse named International that won in Deauville today. And whenever we have a horse that breaks their maiden, especially a homebred, I always love to post a baby picture because I have an album for every single horse that we've bred, purchased privately, even ones that unfortunately have passed away. I keep every single one. I love it. I love to see what they look like when they were born. Like a dog tag is completely so dark, and now she's so white. Those kind of things I love to see. And so yeah, the love for the horse is key, and I would never want to get too big or just where I couldn't control their well-being and just the love I feel for them.
How often are you able to, travel to where your horses are? I mean, I know you were in a fit of tears when United won the other day because you said it was the first time that you had been there when he won.
Well, because I've been there 3 or 4 other times and he's lost.
Probably, you can blame it on me. I swear I've interviewed you before. I'll take the blame.
I'm saying it was more that it was the first time he won than not actually being out at the track. To answer your question, not enough. I don't get to go to Kentucky to see the foals and now weanlings as much as I would like. Alex and our team are going out to Gainesway to see their progression as weanlings right now, and I'm just like, I want to be there. I want to see Kafefi's baby and Fancy Dress Party, Anonymity. But traveling is always cumbersome, and especially now. We'll see. Maybe one day I'll move to Lexington, or California. We'll see.
Where do you enjoy racing the most?
Santa Anita. It's kind of been our home base from day one. I think I was telling Brittany at some point, whenever I meet someone in the horse business, they think I'm from California. I mean, I don't know if it's the blonde hair or it's just that majority of our horses race in California. So I think a lot of people are surprised by that I live in New York. But from the beginning, because of Alex living in California and going back to the animal, when we got into the business, it was imperative that I had someone who could be around the horse, touch the horse, know how they were doing. I was very nervous about getting into the industry because, you hear things and they're not all great, and hopefully we can evolve into a different atmosphere there. But their well-being was always so important. So our horses naturally were there because Alex was there, and I love Richard Mandel. I think we all know that. He's been such a great trainer. He's a great trainer to have when you're first in the business because he's patient, and he's for me the perfect trainer you would want to get into the business. So Santa Anita and Kafefi winning the Breeders' Cup, obviously, and United almost upsetting the turf. So yeah, and the mountains. Can't beat the scene.
This was something that really struck me when United won, and we spoke after the race, and you had said sometimes you just need to give these horses the opportunity to develop, give them that time, much like you guys did with United. So in terms of you and your parents as owners, do you think that you may approach ownership a little bit differently than maybe some others? What coming into it did you really want to achieve as owners, and how you handled your stable?
Yeah, I think we're different in a lot of ways. We are very patient. We don't have so many direct lines of communication to our trainers. We kind of delegate and trust that they're trainers, they know what they're doing, and when we hear from them, it's probably either really good or not very good. But it's a tough sport, and we really try to listen to our team, which I keep saying his name, but Alex and Jason and Madison. Alex was the biggest win of all our wins, because if you don't have someone to teach you about the sport and explain that, all right, you break your maiden, you have conditions to run into. You don't need to go from a maiden to a stake race just to have a horse running in a stake race or just to get black type. Now, maybe that's easier when you're 2. We all know that than when you're 3, but development of a horse and gaining their, getting their confidence going, and just listening to them. I think a lot of times we just throw horses into the deep end, and United is a perfect example of a horse completely the opposite of rushing. He started in Woodbine. He was well meant by Rich Affeld, and they liked him, and he ran fine his first time out. We were a little disappointed, but first time out, big horse. Had to geld him. Then he won. Then there was a step back. Then we sent him to California. He didn't run well first race. I actually said to Allison, my guy, maybe you should just retire him. And he's like, "You're crazy. Give the horse a chance." And I've learned a lot in him being patient about how important patience is. And now here we are, and 3 Breeders' Cups in a row, knock on wood, and he's a perfect example. I was looking at his stats today. He's won at a mile and an eighth, a mile and a 16th, a mile and a quarter, and a mile and a half. I mean, that's for a horse of his stature, 1,400 pounds. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, if you see him, and if you guys can hear my dogs barking, I'm sorry. They're outside.
No, we can't hear him.
But my dad was in the paddock one day when United was schooling, and he came out, he said, "Wow," like just eyes big, because I don't know if he'd actually seen him in person. He's a big horse. So for what he's able to do and the different dimensions that he's shown, especially as of late, whether he's close to the pace or far off the pace, and you mentioned the different distances, it's so impressive. I'll clarify for people that may not know, Alex Solis Jr. is the son of Hall of Fame rider Alex Solis, talented bloodstock agent, works with Gainesway now, and obviously has bought a lot of your talented
runners. I should have mentioned that. It just comes so natural. I just
no.
Yeah.
We often have to clarify things, because though a lot of our fans are hardcore racing fans, we always like to welcome in the newbies, right, Nick?
We always like to welcome in the newbies.
I'm one of those newbies.
Mark, you're not new anymore.
Yeah.
You're asking like amazing questions. You're going to knock all of us out of our jobs.
We keep having him back every week as well.
Now, I do have a question for Jamie. So you were saying originally that your dad was a little bit more focused on the racing side of things, and maybe you were more focused on the breeding side. Does it seem like now those two worlds are kind of coming together, maybe with some benefits that now you, like you said, you get to know the horses more as they grow up, and does that kind of inform you a little bit more when they do begin racing, because you have that context of having watched them growing up?
I think so. A perfect example actually would be Luck, not Nick Luck. Luck, our horse.
Can you clarify? Is that named for Nick Luck or no? I was curious.
Shut that down.
There was the show, wasn't there? Luck.
There was the show, yes.
Yeah.
But it was just a great name. I grabbed it. It was available. But she's a perfect example. She's the 5th daughter of a mare we own named Gold Round, who is Golda Copa's half sister. We have 5 daughters. We wanted one. In 2012, we bought her, and we were just happy getting the first one. It was Golden Valentine, who is great. She won a grade 3 at Deauville, but not the point. Like, we have 5 sisters, and we've been able to see how they're all different, right? What distances, how many have speed, stamina, attitude, hot-headed, not hot-headed. So in all that, it's exciting to think ahead of the future, like a Luck. I mean, her 2 races since she's been in the U.S. have been so impressive. I just can't help but think, all right, like, who are we going to breed her to? I know who we bred the sisters to. Her older sister's gone to Galileo and Dubawi, and I don't know where the next one's going. There's so many. There's 3, there's 4. There's so many different branches, and that to me is exciting to see where those branches develop and what they produce. They're all going to produce something different, and I'm excited to see which is going to be the one. Which is going to be that one where you say, all right, like, this is our blue hen mare. So that is really exciting to me to see how they develop. Dog Tag, another one. I mean, so well bred, so excited after this year to, join the broodmare band and breed her. So I think you learn a lot on the track, and it tells you a lot of how to breed in their next career.
I mean, Jamie, as you've proved with Luck, you are a dab hand at naming horses. But obviously, you will never surpass Covfefe, named for the great Trumpian typo.
I won't. But we named. All right, this is like mind blowing to me. So at the Keeneland September sale, we bought a filly out of a mare named Acrobatique. Acrobatique shares the same mom as Covfefe, obviously different sire, Mendelssohn. I can't figure out all that family tree kind of stuff. But when Covfefe had a half brother this year that was racing at Saratoga, it was a Violence colt with Shug McGahey. And something went viral because he was interviewed in the paddock. And he was talking, there was a lot of hype because it was Covfefe's half brother, and they were talking about Covfefe, and I guess he called her confetti. So people were like going crazy about it. I mean, it's kind of funny. And so we named this yearling Confetti. So I think that's a pretty good name too. Hopefully there'll be hopefully there'll be a lot of confetti, celebration and stuff. We'll see.
I mean, but that went viral, especially after she won the Breeders' Cup, of course. But I mean, it was all over late night news. What was your reaction to it?
The whole story about her, everything at that point was so mind blowing to me. Everything after the CNN piece on her was so amazing and so funny, and it was fun. It was fun for racing. I think it was a time where we all just needed to just decompress and enjoy racing, just embrace the sport and the animal and just have fun, whatever your political views are, right? The horse was amazing. She's I think the first 3-year-old to ever win from the one post. And she's just an amazing, amazing filly. And I'm glad that she gave people some laughs, and hopefully her offspring will too. And Nick, I've got great names lined up for her offspring.
Oh, the fun potential is just limitless, endless.
But listen, the Jockey Club really loves me. They really love me.
I mean, how do you, okay, this is just a question for my own knowledge, because I swear, anytime I want to come up with a great name, they're all taken. Yet you have the most amazing names, and they're all, not all, but most of them are one-word names, which I think is the signature of something strong.
I agree.
What is the key?
Brittany, the amount of time I spend just thinking about the connections with the dam, the sire, or even, the great dam, just the grand dam. I throw 20 different words in that come to mind, and I just work and I work and I work and I work until the name comes to mind. And hopefully after all that work, it's available, because I already know the names that aren't going to be available. So I don't even waste my time with that. I have friends who will recommend names, and I'm just like, you don't get it. Like, that's not available.
That's going to be taken.
Like the name Kingdom, it's not available. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just spend a lot of time. I put a lot of work into it, to be honest.
Were you surprised when Luck was available? Because that surprises me.
I got that name so long ago. I have no idea how it was available, why it was available. It wasn't even a name I had to fight. Like, sometimes I'll have to, get into the boxing ring a little bit and really fight for some names. But I don't know why. Maybe Nick made it available for me.
Well, sometimes the obvious ones that you think they're so obvious.
Yeah.
My mother named a mare who I've got to say is of no distinction whatsoever, but she is still running. She named her Sound of Music and got it. And I thought, there's no way you'll know. And she's out of a mare called Sounds Familiar, named her Sound of Music. I thought you'll never get that. And lo and behold, there you go. So you sometimes, if there's several in several different countries, you can get away with it sometimes.
Yeah. So we're actually having a name situation right now, because, all right, we have a great name. I'm sure everyone's seen Friday Night Lights, right? The show. So we have Clear Eyes, Full Heart, which I think is a really good
That's
name.
Great.
And Brittany's face is like, what?
Because I know I know the show, but I haven't watched it enough
Right,
to
so,
know that.
like,
Clear eyes, full heart, can't
Yeah.
lose, right?
Yeah, clear eyes, full heart,
Is
can't
that
lose.
like
So
they're saying as they go out onto the field?
Yeah, when they need some motivation or they need to go all out, right? And it's the thing, the motto. And so we have that name on reserve, and it fits. It's a good play on the name of the dam. So a yearling we just bought at Tattersall's. The dam's name is a really good fit for Clear Eyes, Full Heart, and I know it would pass there because they're not. That name I know is available in England. I just know it is. But then I have the name here in the US. So I'm thinking to myself, I don't really love though when I have horses named in another country and then that same horse named here. It's the double name thing. So I'm just like working out that whole process with the naming and all different countries, etc. I went on a tangent.
Do you believe that you have to give a talented horse a good name? Can't you? I mean, is there any sort of alignment? Because I'm a firm believer. Come on, Secretariat, citation.
But let me ask you a question. How many of those good? So, at what point were they named though? So the whole issue.
Or did they make the name great?
Yes, that's the thing. But the issue I'm having right now is I like to apply a name very soon to, owning a horse, breeding a horse, just like going back to Nick's comment about the animal and loving the animal. I like to be able to call them by their name, not, the dam's name. But it's hard to give away a name, like per se. Let's just say I had the name Rothko or Hamilton on reserve, right? Let's just say I had those names, or DiCaprio or things like that, right? I mean, they're hard to give to horses that you don't hear amazing things from the breaker. They're not in love with the horse. I mean, they think the horse's ability, but they don't think that they're, a Santa Anita type horse. So I do think I think you have to wait. I think you need to wait till they work 5 furlongs, maybe 6. I hate to say that, but I think
I went off on a tangent as well. Sorry about that. You talk so much about your international runners. At what point did you dabble into racing and breeding outside of the States, or was that from the get-go?
No, it was just Alex again and Jason. So Lit, they went to Arcana in 2012. Just maybe just trying to pluck a mare that would fit us, maybe not fit the operation that was selling the mare. So in Gold Round's case, she was the first international brood mare we had purchased. And for the Wertheimers, again, they have so many branches of the family, as we do in our family now, that maybe it wasn't working for them, it was working for us. So it was a great purchase. I can't believe we got her still, but that was kind of how we dabbled in. And then we got fortunate that her first daughter, was really good. And hey, listen, running in Chantilly, in Deauville, I mean, there's something really very special about winning at those tracks. It's a different vibe, I think, than here. It's they're not, all the tracks aren't the same. And I don't know. I think it was buying the mare, having the first daughter born in France, and just going from there just made it fun.
Jamie, I just wanted to thank you for wearing Country House's silks this evening as well, which hasn't gone unnoticed on me.
They're LNJ silks. What am
exactly? There's no accident, right?
What? No, there's no accident. I like to dress up chic.
Hang on. So, but United runs in the golden navy, right?
Yes,
that's what she's wearing.
That's what I'm wearing. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, what are you saying?
Yeah,
I'm seeing. So
that's why I didn't understand the Country House thing. I always wear navy and gold.
So that thing where they did the where that you saw that dress in 2 different colors depending on your eyesite.
Yeah.
Maybe it's one
so
of
what are
those.
you saying?
Pink,
I'm sort of seeing because the lighting's quite dim. I'm sort of seeing kind of gold and maroon.
It's not. It's not. It's golden navy for sure.
Ah, right. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
so the segue doesn't work, but I wanted to ask you about Country House anyway, because probably the most bizarre chapter of your ownership career, and I don't suppose it's going to get out bizarred, is it?
I don't think so. I mean, in my head, I might have one scenario, but I'll keep that to myself. But no, I mean, you can't make that up. It was such a, I don't think there's a word for it. I mean, surreal isn't even a good enough word for it. It was such a, I honestly don't have a word for that whole day and the next few weeks after. There was just, it was a lot. I said this once and before, I think it was a year to the day after he won the Derby, because we didn't talk about it. Like, I'm very proud of the McFadden's and my family. You know, just, we didn't talk about it and how it all went down and what we thought of our horse and the whole interference. I didn't think it was, you know, our place to speak about it really. But it was hard, I think, to be on our end too. I don't think people realize that. I think a lot of people didn't put themselves in our shoes and just saw it as, oh wow, like how lucky did they get? They won the Derby or something like that. But it was really not easy to be in our position to feel that, okay, you won the Derby. They called interference, right? And your horse was the horse that was put up. And I think it was a very strange, day. As you can see, I'm like holding my head trying.
Yeah, so weird. So weird.
What I'm most proud of, besides, you know, I think the horse showed up big that day, and his greatest victory has been what he's done after that. I mean, this horse has almost died twice from pneumonia. And that's the other thing is people are like, oh, you know, like you have to not listen to all the social media stuff. Oh, he's not trying to run in the Preakness. The horse was never running the Preakness. The horse isn't that, he can't run that short of a distance. You know, the Belmont was where we were aiming, and he got pneumonia, then laminitis. And I remember going to Blackwood, where Guinness McFadden's farm is, saying goodbye to him. Like, I did not think he was going to live. And the people who worked on his feet, I did the most amazing job, and he's happy, he's alive, he's going to breed. And just, I don't think his story's over. That's going to be the surprising part, is when me and you talk in, let's say, 5 years, and we're just laughing about the fact that he ends up being a really good stallion. So we'll see what happens there. He's a tough horse, and it was a weird day, but I'm still very grateful to have been a part of all of it. You learn a lot from every situation.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I suppose looking at him from a racehorse standpoint, given who he was trained by, you probably thought, well, you know, he could run nicely, but we're only really scratching the surface. He's a horse with his future in front of him.
You hit it on the nail. That was the most exciting thing about him, was what was next. I mean, this horse could go, he could have gone any distance. He was just kind of figuring out to get more into the race, not always coming from behind. Like all his Derby preps, he was always behind, always wide, making a move. I mean, Flavien was just got him in the race early, kind of like we changed with United's style when he was coming from behind and just hitting the wire, getting him closer to the pace. So he was just scratching the surface. That was hard, because I think he had a super bright future. And it wasn't a horse we were looking to retire soon. You know, I think his horse would have run for a while.
Well, I look forward to 5 years from now when we are talking about
I have good names for country house babies.
Oh, yeah. I bet.
I'm sure if anyone breeds it, then they will too. So
I have to say, just to close the story on that, and we have some rapid fire fan questions for you, which I think will cover a lot of the other questions that, you know, Nick and I probably would have asked. But I was up on the do we call it pergola? What do we call that, Nick? The thing up top where they do the Derby presentation? Who knows?
The
cupola.
Cupola.
So I was up on the cupola, and it was, you could tell that all of you, including Bill, just didn't really know how to act in that moment. Are we allowed to be excited? Are we not? But you guys all were so classy about the whole thing, because you knew it was an uncomfortable situation for everybody.
Totally. I mean, how do you act in that situation? What I will say, which was really, really cool, is afterwards, which was a long time after, we went to Jeff Ruby's, and I didn't know when we walked in that so many of our friends that we had met in Lexington were there waiting for us with champagne and celebrating us. It felt special, that we walked into a situation where amongst friends, we could really celebrate in a way in which, it couldn't be done there and then. So we had both, we were able to have fun and enjoy it as well. So.
Does Jamie know the Stewie story? Pete Rotondo and his dog?
Yeah.
Stewie, yeah.
Okay. I was like, because that's a great story in and of itself. Okay.
I'm convinced that Stewie was started the whole Cavapoo craze. Ever since Stewie, every single person I know has a Cavapoo. I'm calling him, he started the Cavapoo craze, just putting it out there.
They're so cute. Okay, are you ready for fan?
He's not an unpublicized pooch. I reckon anyone who's ever had anything to do with horse racing in North America has seen that dog.
I think we put him on a show once. He was my co-host in a show in Sarasota.
A much better co-host as well.
All right, let's get the timer up. Nick, you want to start? And then we'll go us three.
Okay, I think this is going to be the best question first. All right, let's go. Rapid fire questions. Jamie, what advice would you give to someone who wants to get involved in the sport?
Surround yourself with people that you trust inherently, no questions asked.
Is there a horse or a horseman who inspired you to join the sport?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, easy. I mean, Rachel.
What's your favorite thing to do outside racing?
I love to run.
Mark, go ahead.
All right. If you could put a racetrack in any city in the country, where would it be?
That's tough.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe Vegas.
That would be cool. Where is your favorite track? You probably already answered this, but
Santa Anita, hands down.
What race do you want to win that you haven't?
The Kentucky Oaks.
Nice.
Oh,
what was it like to win your? Oh,
I threw in a question. Why?
Just the female version of the Derby. I just hope LNJ was built around fillies, and it's the ultimate jewel for fillies. So.
Yeah. What was it like to win your first Grade 1?
I mean, I think, to be honest, I was really so new to the game. If I had been who I am now then, I feel like it would have been a different appreciation. It was still great. It was my dad's 65th. It was amazing. But I wish I had been me. I wish I was me then, and the appreciation would have been next level, different.
All right.
I'm going to skip one question because you already answered it. Do you have a favorite racing division?
Oh God, I'm really starting to love the turf division, like distance turf racing, a lot.
Is there a win that's more special to LNJ Foxwoods than all the rest?
That's a good question.
Yeah, of course, the Breeders' Cup.
And what's it like leading an ownership group with your family? Pass. No.
I'm very proud, and it's been a lot of fun to work with my parents. Seeing their smiles and happiness and excitement makes me happy. So.
Last question, and we do this regardless of if there's any time. We always end it with, if you could have dinner with anyone in the world, alive or past, who would it be?
Oh man. Alive or past, who would it be? I mean, man, I really should be able to answer this.
We like the tough questions out here.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. I kind of met him once. We talked briefly, but I'd like to have dinner with Barack Obama.
Who else on our show said that?
Hang on. Can I just back up I met him once. We only talked briefly. It just kind of sailed off into the distance. And I said, oh, rewind.
Well,
actually, so how was it?
It's a great story, actually. I met him twice in a brief handshake charity event, back-to-back years, and everyone got to meet him and ask him a question. And I had no idea what to say, but I know he loves sports, and I love sports. So I said, "Who would you draft?" I was doing fantasy basketball at that time, and I knew what draft pick they had. I said, "So who would you pick if you had the X draft pick?" He told me his pick. I told him my pick. The next year I met him. I went to shake his hand again, and he's like, "Oh, you're the one who told me to pick Dwayne Wade. This was a long time ago. And I was like, yes. And he was like, great pick. And then we took a picture. So that was the extent of it. But he remembered me, which was awesome.
He remembered. That's special.
Ridiculous.
Well, that's why I want to have dinner with him.
Yeah.
Huh.
That story probably tells you more about why he became president than just about any other story you could think of. These exceptional people who get to the top, they have this ridiculous capacity to retain information.
I didn't even have to. As soon as he saw me, he said, "You picked the right, the right athlete for that, the right player for that draft pick."
Unbelievable.
That's wild. Jamie, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I mean, we could have gone on for ages, but we won't take up.
I've always wanted to do this, but you don't like go out and say, "Hey, I want to be on the," But when you guys asked, I was pumped. So
your family's given so much to this industry. I mean, I should share, because you won't, that they had an employee appreciation party at Santa Anita not too long ago. LNJ Foxwoods put that on, and everybody from Santa Anita came out, and it was just in and out trucks, and it was just lovely. So it's not just giving back to the horses, you're also giving back to the people. So this industry, very, very lucky to have you and your parents.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. It's important to take care of everyone. Everyone plays a role. So.
Jamie, thanks so much for being with us. Everybody's saying awesome choice, says Julie. Cheryl the same. Jessica, thanks so much. Found it. Mary Jane, that was so fascinating. Thank you, Jamie. And Jeff Hall, glad to have you here tonight, Jamie. So you've gone down a storm as we knew you would. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Drink in Negroni.
Dodgers. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Nerve-wracking. We'll see you at Del Mar.
All right. Bye, guys.
Jamie Roth of LNJ Foxwoods. I really enjoyed that.
I mean, it goes to show, I mean, she didn't have any sort of connection with the industry. She just loved the animal and wanted to find a way to get involved. And whether that be not ownership, maybe for some people, maybe working in any other aspect of the industry, sometimes you just have to reach out and ask and say, hey, how can I get involved? Because there are people there willing to help, I would say. And that's not just here, Nick. It seems like in England, people are very welcoming in terms of sharing their insight and knowledge for the industry.
Yeah, and that's right. And is it time now, on that note, to deliver you today's extra shot?
Absolutely.
Which is my choice today. And yesterday morning on my podcast, I talked to Harriet Bethel, who in 2019 suffered an injury while she was riding work at home. She was a very accomplished rider, very accomplished amateur jockey, and was beginning a really important career as a trainer when she suffered an injury that left her with precious little chance of survival. She spent 6 weeks in a coma. She had to have part of her skull removed to relieve the pressure on her brain, and then had to have that operated and replaced. Indeed, she was lying down for so long that they had to perform an operation on the tendon in her foot to enable her to walk again with her heel down first. That's how long she'd been in a coma and lying down. The doctors gave her not much chance of anything like the recovery that she's had at the time. And a combination of her extraordinary determination and the amazing support of the Injured Jockeys Fund, who rely solely on charitable donations, has helped to get to the point where she is today. And indeed, 48 hours ago, she walked an entire circuit. This is 2 years after this a catastrophic injury. She walked an entire circuit of Pontefract Racecourse. Now, Pontefract is the largest continuous circuit round in Europe. It's around about 2 miles round, 2.25 miles round, with some very serious undulations and a very stiff uphill finish. And she really wanted to raise £50,000 for the Injured Jockeys Fund. Now she's got part of the way there, but she was saying, "Well, I may have to revise my my target down." But I don't want her to revise her target down. The IJF have done so much for her, and she has done so much to advertise their brilliant work, and has been such an inspiration that I would really love her to be able to raise this money for the Injured Jockeys Fund. So you can visit her Just Giving page. I'm just going to pull the tweet up now because it's probably easier to do it there. injuredjockeys.co.uk is the IJF's website, but we're just going to grab you her Just Giving page, I hope, and then we can put that up. And I know sometimes the best way of publicizing these things is to do it internationally, and then you can get a much broader reach. Here we go. I'm hoping we have got.
Yes, producer's sending it over so we can get it lifted up. When you said that she walked the court, that just gave me chills. Is this an interview with Racing TV that she did?
Yeah, you can maybe just have a listen to a bit of this if we can get the sound up.
What's the reason specifically? Plenty of people will know, but for those that don't, that you're raising money for the IJF.
Well, the IJF have been with me from the start, and the reason why I chose Ponte was because on the day of my accident, we had a horse that beat me, which was, I never seen it coming.
Obviously, those that aren't aware of the accident that you had, it was a life-changing accident, and one that many doctors gave you no chance of recovering from. It was a serious injury.
Yeah, no, I had a traumatic brain injury. I spent sort of God knows how many months, like 8-9 months in various hospitals. 6 of those weeks was flat on my back in a coma. Then they moved me from Hull Royal to Castle Hill, and then they moved me from Castle Hill down to the Wellington, which is where they treated George Baker. Probably the best place in the country for like brain injury, and they were absolutely class.
And your recovery is absolutely remarkable, and to complete a course walk of Pontefract 2.25 miles, you had to learn to walk again, didn't you?
Yeah. It probably took me all of the 6 months I was in the welly for to learn how to walk again. And you think like sometimes that you can nail it, like jumping up and down even, like, but you can't. You think you remember it and you know exactly what it used to feel like, but it doesn't really feel like that anymore.
No, but as I said, the recovery that you have made is absolutely amazing, and that achievement of walking the course today is a huge one.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Just on the card here at Pontefract this afternoon was the Harriet Bethel.
As you said, her sheer determination gave me chills hearing her walk that course after having to learn to walk again. So many things that we all probably take for granted. For those that are familiar with the permanently disabled jockeys fund here in America, that would be the equivalent in the UK. And 100% of how they move forward is through donation. So if we could get that up one more time, just so people can know.
There we go.
Awesome. JustGiving.com/fundraising/Harriet Bethel. I wish her the best and continued recovery. It's so nice to see after what you shared that she's been through. She seems to have just a very positive outlook on life still. I love that.
So there she is. She's up to 36,711, and she taken that target to 40. And I just love it to get to 50, because I know that's what she originally wanted. So if you can, however small the donation, no donation is too small. JustGiving.com/fundraising/Harriet-Bethel.
Wow. Great cause, Nick. Oh my goodness.
Thank you, Nick, for that extra shot.
All right. I think that is us for episode 19 of season 2.
Is that our show? It flew by.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous. Look at that handsome man. Look at him.
I mean, how are you going to top yourself next week? Also, speaking of next week, our next show is a week from today, the 27th. I will not be on with all of you. Everyone can be overjoyed about that.
We'll be missing you. Nick, I'll do my best. There's no way there was no way that I could fill in when you were not with us, but I will do my best. If I have to dress up more or add more graphics to compensate, then that's what I'll do.
Where are you next? You're going back to Keeneland again, aren't you?
Yeah, so I fly to Keeneland on the 26th, then I'll be working for TVG for that week, fly back home the 31st, and then it's off to Del Mar to see you and prep for the draw.
Yeah, I
believe it's already here.
I like your priorities. Yeah, can't wait to get to Del Mar. Visa complications have been sorted, touch wood.
Oh, good.
And Mark, we will be able to, it's not long till we can
Finally
actually
meet.
do it in person.
No.
My good friend.
It seems like we've known each other for, I don't know,
I
10,
know.
15 years. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, and we're going to have a good time. And we are still set for our CNC in Del Mar altogether. I don't know if we have a formal announcement about that, but I guess we'll have times coming up on that soon. But definitely something to look forward to and keep an eye out for.
That will be a lot of fun.
feeling
We've
it.
got some great guest ideas and some fun stuff. So looking forward to that. But you guys have fun next week, but not too much fun, okay?
No.
All right. Cheers, Britt.
Just enough.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. See you next week. Well, they will.
Cheers, guys.
Good night, James Bond.
They come together from every corner of the globe in pursuit of the one reward that sets the special few apart, the title of World Champion. Don't miss racing's ultimate coronation, the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Del Mar, only on NBC.